You've probably seen a bike that looked perfect until the problems started showing up where it actually matters. Today, we're breaking down 12 motorcycles riders genuinely hate right now. And more importantly, why manufacturers got them so wrong. Because here's the reality. If you're still choosing a bike based on badge or hype, you could be one decision away from owning something unreliable, overpriced, or straight up dangerous. And trust me, by the time we hit number one, you'll see a failure that goes way beyond the machine itself. Number 12, the Triumph Speed 400. This one doesn't trigger outrage. No major recalls, no catastrophic failures. What it creates instead is something quieter and harder to shake. Disappointment. When Triumph Motorcycles introduced the Speed 400, it looked like a breakthrough. Built alongside Bajaj Auto, it promised an affordable entry into a premium brand, a modern classic with real-world usability and just enough performance to feel special. On paper, it delivers. Strong features, clean design, and a price just under $5,000 in the United States. But the road tells a different story. The bike is smooth, predictable, easy to live with. And that's exactly the problem. It never goes beyond that. The engine works, but it doesn't excite. The ride is comfortable, yet forgettable. The character riders expect from Triumph never fully shows up. That gap starts to grow, because this isn't judged like a budget machine. It carries a badge with history behind it. And when that emotional connection feels diluted, riders notice. Nothing is seriously wrong here, but nothing truly stands out either. And when a motorcycle sits in that uncomfortable middle ground, not cheap enough to excuse it, not special enough to justify it, it leaves owners questioning what they really bought. And if this kind of breakdown is exactly what you've been missing, real problems, no sugarcoating, hit like, drop a hype in the comments, and subscribe. That's what tells us to keep exposing the bikes people regret buying before you end up stuck with one. Number 11, the CF Moto 450 SS. This is where things shift, because the criticism here isn't about how the bike rides. It's about whether riders believe in it at all. When CF Moto launched the 450 SS, it disrupted the entry-level sport bike category overnight. A 449 cubic centimeter parallel twin, making roughly 50 horsepower, sharp styling, modern electronics, it went straight after established players without hesitation. Then came the price, just under $5,700 in the United States. That's not competitive, that's aggressive, and that's where the tension begins. On the road, the bike impresses. It's quick, balanced, and far more refined than many expected. Early reviews praised its handling and overall value. Even the partnership with KTM gave it added credibility. But doubt lingers. Buyers aren't just asking what it can do today. They're thinking long-term. Will it hold up after years of riding? Will parts show up when something breaks? Will it still have value when it's time to sell? That uncertainty hangs over every decision, because in this segment, trust matters more than specs. And when a motorcycle forces riders to second, guess that trust, no matter how good it looks on paper, it creates hesitation. Not rejection, not failure. Just enough doubt to keep it from being fully accepted. The CF Moto looks like a bargain, right up until the moment something breaks and you realize the real cost isn't money, it's waiting, weeks, sometimes months, just to get back on the road. So riders begin thinking differently. Maybe the answer isn't cheap performance. Maybe it's something simpler, tougher, built for the real world, not spec sheets, which is exactly why attention shifts to the next bike. A machine marketed as rugged, dependable, and ready for anything, until reality starts cracking that image, quite literally. Number 10, the Royal Enfield Himalayan 450. Royal Enfield positioned this bike as a full reinvention. A new liquid-cooled engine, modern electronics, and a feature set built to compete with serious adventure machines. On paper, it delivers more power, smoother performance, and far greater capability than the original ever could. But that transformation comes with a cost. The first Himalayan earned its following through simplicity. It was basic, rugged, and sometimes flawed, yet it felt honest and dependable in places where complexity becomes a liability. The 450 moves away from that formula. Ride-by-wire, rider modes, and a digital interface introduce a level of separation. The engine feels more refined but less distinctive. For some riders, the connection that defined the original is no longer there. Add rising expectations and scattered concerns about heat and long-term durability, and the reaction becomes clear. It is not outrage. It is disappointment from people who feel the bike improved everywhere, except where it mattered most. And that kind of reaction tends to linger longer than criticism, because once identity becomes uncertain, fixing it is never straightforward. And since we just talked about a bike that's supposed to handle anything and still raises serious trust issues. So let me ask you, have you ever owned or ridden something that made you question its reliability mid-ride? Drop it in the comments, because those real experiences help everyone else. Avoid making the same mistake. The Himalayan 450 sells you the dream of going anywhere, and then quietly introduces the nightmare of wondering if the bike will survive the trip with you. And that kind of doubt does something interesting. It pushes riders away from adventure, promises, and back towards something proven, something with legacy, history, a name that once meant bulletproof performance. Which brings us to the next step forward, a machine that didn't fail because it broke, but because it was left behind while the entire world moved on without it. Number 9, the Suzuki GSXR750. For decades, the GSXR750 was the answer. Not too extreme, not watered down. It hit that perfect middle ground, lighter than a liter bike, stronger than a 600, and brutally effective whether you were carving back roads or pushing hard on a track. And here's the uncomfortable truth. It still delivers. The engine pulls hard. The chassis feels planted. Twist the throttle, and it reminds you exactly why this platform earned its reputation in the first place. So why are riders turning on it? Because nothing changed. While the rest of the industry pushed forward, advanced electronics, refined rider aids, sharper design, this machine stayed frozen in time. Year after year, the updates barely moved the needle. And eventually, that starts to feel like neglect. Not heritage, not simplicity, neglect. Then there's the bigger problem no one at Suzuki seems willing to address. The world this bike was built for is disappearing. The 750 class used to mean something. Now it sits in a dead zone, overshadowed by leader bikes, outclassed in technology by modern middleweights, and too demanding for newer riders looking for something easier to live with. So it doesn't dominate anymore. It just exists, and that's what stings the most. Riders aren't angry because this bike is bad. They're frustrated because it could still be great if anyone at Suzuki cared enough to evolve it. Instead, it's been left to age in place, slowly drifting from icon to afterthought, and neglect creates a different kind of frustration. Riders don't just want history, they want progress. Innovation, something that feels like the future, not a museum piece. And that expectation is exactly what pulls them toward the next machine. A high-tech flagship that promises cutting-edge performance and then reminds everyone why new doesn't always mean ready. Number 8, the BMW R1300 GS. The GS has never been just a motorcycle. It's been a benchmark. For decades, machines like the BMW R1200 GS defined what an adventure bike should be: durable, capable, and built to take you anywhere without second-guessing it. So when the R1300 GS arrived, expectations weren't high. They were absolute. On paper, it looks unstoppable. More power, less weight, a sharper chassis, and a level of technology that pushes deeper than anything BMW has built before. But that's where the tension starts, because this isn't just an upgrade, it's a shift in philosophy. The design alone split riders right down the middle. Some see progress, others see a machine that's lost its identity. That familiar, rugged character is gone, replaced with something tighter, more aggressive, and less recognizable. Then you get to the real concern: complexity. This bike leans heavily on electronics, systems layered on top of systems, adaptive ride height, rider aids, integrated controls. It's impressive, no question. But it also raises a hard question. When you're miles from anywhere, do you trust it? The old GS felt mechanical, honest, something you worked with. This one feels managed, and for a machine built on freedom, that shift is enough to turn admiration into doubt. And if that kind of doubt feels unsettling, the next bike shows what happens when the problem isn't complexity, it's something far more basic. Number 7, the Indian FTR 1200. This is where excitement slowly turns into frustration. When Indian Motorcycle launched the FTR 1200, it came in with real presence, flat track-inspired styling, wide handlebars, upright stance, and a V-twin engine pushing serious power. It looked aggressive, different, and completely out of step with a segment that had grown predictable. For a moment, it worked. The FTR felt like a statement, something bold, something rebellious. But that clarity did not last. Because underneath the styling, the bike struggles to define what it actually is. It carries the look of a dirt oval machine, yet behaves more like a road-focused naked. Later revisions pushed it even further in that direction, tightening geometry and leaning into street performance. That shift created a disconnect. Add in abrupt low-speed fueling, noticeable heat, and ergonomics that do not always match real-world riding, and the experience becomes uneven. Riders expected chaos. What they got was restraint. And when a motorcycle promises one identity but delivers another, the reaction is inevitable. Not rejection, frustration that something so close never fully commits. So far, we've covered machines that failed mechanically, emotionally, and even technologically. Which direction do you trust less right now? Old brands losing their identity, or new tech that isn't ready yet? Let me know in the comments, and while you're there, like the video and subscribe, because the next few bikes take this to another level. And if you think identity confusion creates frustration, the next bike proves what happens when a machine is clear about what it is, but people still reject it anyway. Number 6. The Harley-Davidson Pan America. This one didn't just upset riders, it shook an entire identity. Because when Harley-Davidson stepped into the adventure world, they weren't expanding a lineup. They were rewriting what the brand stood for. For over a century, Harley meant low-slung cruisers, heavy steel, and that unmistakable V-twin, Pulse. Then suddenly they introduced a tall, aggressive machine built to chase bikes like the BMW R 1200 GS. And on paper, it delivers strong power, serious suspension, technology that actually competes. But that's where the problem begins. To longtime Harley riders, it doesn't feel right. The sound, the stance, the entire experience. It breaks from everything they associate with the name, and outside that circle, skepticism never fully went away. Adventure riders questioned whether Harley belonged here at all. Early reports of electronic glitches didn't help, so now it sits in an awkward position. The Pan America is what happens when a company tries to prove it can do everything, and ends up proving it barely has control over anything. Electrical gremlins, system failures, a bike that feels like it's arguing with itself every time you turn it on. And that kind of chaos doesn't just frustrate riders, it makes them retreat. Back to something simpler, something closer to the brand's roots, which is exactly why the focus snaps to the next machine, a stripped-down attempt to reconnect with tradition and somehow still miss the point entirely. Number 5, the Harley-Davidson Nightster. This one highlights a harsh reality. Playing it safe can cost more than taking a risk. When Harley-Davidson introduced the Nightster, the goal was clear: bring new riders into the brand with something lighter, more approachable, and easier to live with. A modern machine built on the Revolution Max platform, designed to lower the barrier to entry. On paper, it works. A 975 cubic centimeter liquid, cooled V-twin, solid power, modern electronics, and a price just under $10,000 in the United States. That sounds like progress, but the reaction tells a different story. For longtime riders, this doesn't feel like a Harley. The engine is smooth and efficient, but the character is muted. The sound, the vibration, the mechanical presence, it's all been softened, and that emotional gap matters. Then you look at new riders, the people this bike was meant for. They see something caught in between. Not as exciting as performance-focused alternatives, not as iconic as traditional cruisers, and not cheap enough to ignore the competition. So it struggles to connect. Not because it's bad, because it doesn't clearly belong anywhere. So riders start looking beyond tradition altogether. If the old formula is broken, maybe the future has the answer. Maybe a clean sheet, all-electric approach can finally escape these mistakes. That hope points directly to the next direction, a machine built on tomorrow's technology, and a reminder that the future can fail just as hard as the past. Number 4. The Zero SRF. This was meant to be the turning point, an electric motorcycle that finally proved the future had arrived. On paper, it looks convincing. Strong power delivery, instant torque, and a smooth, almost silent acceleration that feels unlike anything gas-powered bikes can offer. For a brief moment, it delivers exactly what it promises. Then the reality of ownership sets in. The price immediately raises expectations. At over $20,000 new, this sits alongside fully developed, high-performance machines with decades of refinement behind them. And that comparison is where things begin to unravel. Range becomes the first limitation riders notice. Real-world riding often feels shorter than expected. And once you push the bike, that window shrinks even more. What should feel like freedom starts turning into planning, routes, charging stops, and time management. Then come the concerns riders didn't expect at this level. Reports highlight software glitches, battery-related inconsistencies, and support that depends heavily on location. Add in recalls tied to braking components and hardware issues, and confidence starts to fade. This isn't about performance, it's about compromise. The Zero promises the future, silent, instant torque, cutting-edge tech, and then quietly traps you in reality with range anxiety, long charging times, and a price tag that feels like a dare. So now the thinking shifts again. Maybe full electric is too extreme. Maybe the real solution is balance. Something that blends old and new, gas and electric, performance and efficiency. That compromise leads straight to the next machine, a hybrid experiment that tries to be everything at once and ends up exposing how messy that middle ground really is. Number 3. The Kawasaki Ninja 7 Hybrid. When this machine was unveiled, it carried the weight of a first, not just for Kawasaki, but for the entire industry. A hybrid sport bike, a parallel twin engine paired with an electric motor, multiple riding modes, including full electric operation and an automatic transmission. It sounded like the next step forward, but innovation only works when riders actually want it. The price sets the tone. Sitting well above traditional middleweight options, it asks buyers to pay more for technology that doesn't clearly improve the experience. Comparable bikes deliver stronger emotional engagement for less money, and that difference is hard to ignore. Then comes the weight. The added hybrid system makes the bike feel noticeably heavier than anything in its class. That extra mass isn't just a number, it changes how the bike moves, how it responds, and how confident riders feel pushing it. And the ride itself feels filtered. The automatic gearbox removes a layer of connection. The transition between electric and gasoline power, while clever, lacks consistency. Instead of enhancing the experience, it interrupts it. But the real issue is identity. It's not truly electric. It's not a traditional sport bike either, and that leaves it without a clear audience. Experienced riders find it uninspiring. New riders see unnecessary complexity. Commuters have simpler, cheaper options that make more sense. So instead of redefining motorcycling, it ends up stuck in between. Interesting, ambitious, but disconnected from what riders actually value. And when experimentation starts to feel pointless, riders fall back to something they trust, a pure, focused machine built around performance, not gimmicks. Something that's supposed to just work, which is why attention locks onto the next bike, a super sport icon that should have been the safe choice until it became one of the most dangerous ones instead. Number 2, the Kawasaki Ninja ZX6R. This bike used to be untouchable. For years, it defined what a super sport should feel like. Razor-sharp handling, a screaming inline 4, and performance that felt straight off a race grid. It earned respect the hard way, through consistency and precision. So how does something like that end up here? Because what once made it great is now exactly what holds it back. The price puts it firmly in premium territory for a middleweight machine. That alone raises expectations. But the real issue isn't cost, it's usability. This is a bike that only comes alive at high revs. To feel its full character, you have to push it hard, harder than most riders can realistically justify on public roads. What used to feel thrilling now feels inaccessible. Then there's the ergonomics, low bars, high pegs, a riding position built for the track, not daily life. Short rides turn uncomfortable. Longer ones become a test of endurance, and the market has moved on. Riders today are choosing torque-rich naked bikes, versatile adventure machines, and platforms that deliver performance without demanding constant sacrifice. That leaves the ZX6R in a difficult position. Still brilliant at what it was designed to do, but increasingly disconnected from how people actually ride. Respected, without question, but no longer desired the way it once was. And that shift is exactly why it sits at number 2. Do you like this video so far? Hit that like button. And if you want to support what we're building here, exposing the truth behind these machines, consider becoming a member for early access. The ZX6R crosses a line you don't come back from. When a machine can fail in a way that puts riders directly at risk, it stops being a disappointment and becomes a liability. But even that kind of failure still lives in a contained space. One defect, one recall, one mistake that spiraled out of control. The next chapter, though, is something much worse. Not just a broken motorcycle, but a breakdown at every level: engineering, trust, and the company behind it. A machine that doesn't just fail on the road, it drags an entire brand down with it. Number 1, the KTM 890 Duke and KTM 890 Adventure. These should have dominated. Lightweight, aggressive, razor-sharp handling, and an 889 cubic centimeter parallel twin packed with torque. Machines built to thrill. Bikes that promise precision and excitement every time you ride. And yet they sit here. Because the problem isn't what they can do, it's whether they'll do it consistently. At this price point, well into the premium middleweight range, riders expect more than performance. They expect confidence. Instead, many owners report unpredictable electronics, warning lights that appear without reason, quick shifters that hesitate, and occasional engine behavior that raises concern. Then comes durability, components that don't feel as solid as they should, assembly quality that varies more than it should. And when something fails, support can become another challenge. That's where the frustration turns into something stronger. Because these bikes are brilliant when they work. But when riders start questioning that reliability before every ride, the excitement fades and doubt takes over. Which is exactly why the KTM 890 Duke and 890 Adventure don't just make this list, they take the number 1 spot. If this video made you rethink what you trust on 2 wheels, don't stop here. The next video breaks down the machines that actually get it right, and the difference is bigger than you think. Hit subscribe to stay ahead, drop a like if this helped, and if you want early access and deeper dives, become a member. Now click the next video and keep the ride going.